What if I told you that the greatest spiritual danger in your life isn't out on the streets or somewhere far away, but sitting right at the table with you? What if the enemy trying to pull you away from God wasn't a stranger, but someone from your own bloodline? Have you ever left a family gathering and felt like something heavy was weighing on your soul, like the peace had been drained right out of your heart? That's not your imagination. Here's the thing, in the spiritual realm, not every blood tie protects you, and Father Pio, a saint who could see beyond the visible world, warned us clearly about this. The most dangerous part is that this doesn't destroy your faith all at once. It destroys it slowly, quietly, right inside your own family. Today, you're going to discover 4 types of relatives who might be cooling down your faith without you even realizing it. And stick around until the end, because the 4th type is the most painful and the one that pushes more people away from God than any other. Jesus said something that should make us tremble. A man's enemies will be those of his own household. This isn't an invitation to hate, it's a call to discernment. Father Pio saw it every single day in the confessional. Souls wounded by words, attitudes, and pressures coming from inside their own homes. He would repeat something simple but firm. Protecting your soul is not a lack of love. Hold on to that phrase. You know, we grow up thinking family's always safe, that blood always protects, that home is always refuge. But Father Pio knew better. He saw how the devil works, and the devil is smart. He doesn't always attack from the outside where you can see him coming. Sometimes he uses the people closest to you, the ones you trust most, the ones sitting across from you at Sunday dinner. And the scariest part, they might not even know they're being used. They think they're helping you, they think they're keeping you grounded, they think they're protecting you from becoming too extreme. But what they're really doing is pulling you away from the one thing that can actually save you. If you believe in Father Pio's spiritual discernment, write in the comments, "Father Pio, teach me to discern." Your comment helps this message reach more people who need to hear it. Now listen carefully, because what I'm about to share with you comes from years of Father Pio's wisdom, from souls he guided, from families he helped protect. These aren't theories, these are real patterns he witnessed over and over again. And the 4th type we're going to talk about, that's the one that breaks the most hearts and destroys the most souls. But we'll get there. First, you need to understand how this spiritual attack begins. The first type of relative is the one who mocks your faith. This person doesn't argue with God, they laugh at God. They're the relative who makes fun of you when you mention Mass, who calls your devotion an overreaction, who laughs at the rosary, at confession, at the changes you're making in your life. At first, it seems like just harmless teasing, just a joke, right? They're family. They don't mean anything by it. But here's what Father Pio understood that most people miss. Poison doesn't have to taste bitter to kill you. Sometimes it comes sweetened with laughter. A joke today, a little comment tomorrow. And before you know it, you start feeling ashamed to pray around this person. You start hiding your faith like it's something embarrassing. You stop mentioning church. You take off your cross before you walk into their house. And when you finally notice what's happening, you're already hiding who you really are just to avoid being ridiculed. Father Pio knew that the enemy prefers mockery over direct attack because laughter corrodes without alarming you. You don't abandon God out of conviction, you abandon him out of shame. Think about it. When someone yells at you about your faith, you know you're under attack. You can defend yourself, you can stand firm, but when someone laughs at you, that gets inside differently. It makes you question yourself. It makes you wonder if maybe you really are being too much, too intense, too religious. Let me ask you an honest question, and I want you to really think about this. After spending time with this relative, does your desire to pray increase or decrease? That doesn't lie. Your soul knows. If you leave their presence feeling smaller spiritually, if you leave feeling like your faith is something to be embarrassed about, that's your answer right there. So what do? You don't argue. You don't try to convince them. When the mockery starts, you change the subject. If they keep pushing, you get up and leave. And I know that sounds harsh. I know it sounds cold. But here's what you need to understand. Protecting your soul is not a lack of love. You can love someone from a distance. You can pray for someone without giving them access to wound you. Father Pio was clear about this. He said there are people we must love with our prayers, not with our presence. Because some people, even family, will chip away at your faith one laugh at a time until there's nothing left. And you know what the saddest part is? They'll never see what they've done. They'll never understand that their jokes pushed you away from the very thing that could save you. Because in their mind, they were just kidding around. They were just keeping it real. They were just making sure you didn't get too carried away. But you're not too carried away. You're not too much. And your faith is not a joke. When someone treats it like one, you have every right to protect it. Because that faith is more valuable than their approval. That connection with God is more important than keeping the peace at family dinners. Father Pio lost friends over his devotion. He lost respect from people who thought he was extreme, but he never ever compromised his soul to make someone else comfortable. Neither should you. So the next time someone laughs at your rosary, remember this: they're laughing because your faith makes them uncomfortable with their own lack of it. That's not your problem to fix. That's between them and God. Now, the second type of relative is even more subtle. This is the one who gets you to relax with God. They don't pull you into sin directly. They just convince you to lower your guard. They speak softly. God understands. You don't need to be so strict. Everybody does it. This relative doesn't push you away from faith. They push you away from conversion. You keep believing, but you stop fighting. You stop growing. You stop transforming. And that's exactly where the devil wants you, comfortable in a faith that never challenges you, never changes you, never demands anything from you. Father Pio warned that lukewarm faith is more dangerous than denied faith because it doesn't create repentance, doesn't create change, doesn't create holiness. It creates spiritual mediocrity. And spiritual mediocrity is a slow death that feels like life because you're still showing up to church, you're still saying you believe, you're still calling yourself a person of faith. But here's the truth: showing up is not the same as surrendering. Believing is not the same as obeying. And going through the motions is not the same as being transformed by the power of God. This relative gets you to negotiate your principles. They get you to lower your spiritual standards. They make you feel like you're being too hard on yourself, too judgmental, too rigid. They use words like grace and mercy to justify compromise. And slowly, quietly, you start giving yourself permission to do things you know you shouldn't do. You start skipping confession because, well, God knows your heart, right? You start bending the truth because, hey, everyone stretches the truth sometimes. You start consuming content you know isn't good for your soul because you convince yourself it's not that bad. It's just entertainment. It doesn't really affect you. But it does affect you. Every compromise affects you. Every time you lower the bar, you make it easier to lower it again. And before you know it, the faith you once had, that fire that once burned in your heart, has been reduced to barely glowing embers. This is what Father Pio saw happening to so many souls. They didn't lose their faith in a dramatic fall. They lost it in 1,000 tiny compromises, each one feeling small and justified in the moment, but together creating a distance from God that felt impossible to cross. Listen to me carefully. God didn't call you to relax. He called you to be transformed. He didn't call you to be comfortable. He called you to be holy. And if someone is encouraging you to lower your standards, to ease up on your spiritual disciplines, to stop being so serious about your relationship with God, that person is not helping you. They're hurting you. Even if they mean well, even if they love you, even if they think they're saving you from becoming some kind of religious fanatic, they're wrong. Because the only thing more dangerous than no faith is fake faith. The only thing more destructive than rejecting God is pretending to follow Him while refusing to let Him change you. So if someone calls you extreme for wanting to pray more, for wanting to confess regularly, for wanting to actually live differently because of your faith, the problem isn't your faith. The problem is that your faith makes them uncomfortable with their own compromises. Protecting your soul is not a lack of love. It's the most loving thing you can do, because a protected soul is a soul that can actually help others instead of being dragged down with them. And now we arrive at the third type, one of the most painful of all, the relative who manipulates through guilt. This person doesn't control you with yelling, they control you with guilt. Often it's a parent, a sibling, or an in-law. The phrases are always similar. After everything I've done for you, you've changed, you've become cold, you're abandoning the family because of God. And right here, many people give up their faith, not because they're weak, but because they're emotionally exhausted. They go back, they stop praying, they abandon confession, all just to maintain a false peace at home. But this needs to be crystal clear. Someone who pulls you away from God using guilt is not loving you. They're controlling you. They're trapping you. They're using your good heart, your desire to be a good son or daughter or sibling, to manipulate you into abandoning the one relationship that actually matters eternally. Father Pio taught that we must forgive, yes, but we must not place ourselves back in situations where our soul gets crushed. Honoring your parents doesn't mean accepting abuse. Loving your family doesn't mean accepting humiliation. Faith is not emotional blackmail. Think about this for a second. If someone really loved you, would they use guilt to control you? If someone really wanted what's best for you, would they try to separate you from God? If someone truly cared about your well-being, would they make you feel terrible for pursuing holiness? The answer is no. Real love doesn't manipulate. Real love doesn't weaponize your guilt. Real love doesn't punish you for growing spiritually. Real love celebrates when you get closer to God, even if it means you have less time for them. Because real love wants what's best for your soul, not what's most convenient for their ego. But manipulative love, that's different. Manipulative love keeps score. It reminds you of every sacrifice they made. It makes you feel like you owe them your entire life, your every decision, your complete obedience. And when you start choosing God over their approval, they make you pay for it emotionally. They give you the silent treatment. They make passive-aggressive comments. They tell other family members how you've changed, how you're not the same person anymore, how religion has made you cold and distant. They paint themselves as the victim, and you as the ungrateful one who abandoned them. And you know what the worst part is? Part of you believes them. Part of you wonders if maybe they're right. Maybe you have changed. Maybe you are being too extreme. Maybe you should just go back to how things were to make everyone happy. But here's what you need to hear. Yes, you have changed. And that's exactly what's supposed to happen when you encounter God. Transformation is not a bug in the Christian life, it's the whole point. You're not supposed to stay the same. You're supposed to become new. You're supposed to die to your old self and rise with Christ. And if that makes some people uncomfortable, if that threatens some relationships, if that causes some family members to accuse you of changing, so be it. Because you can't serve two masters. You can't live for God's approval and human approval at the same time. Eventually, you have to choose. Father Pio chose, and it cost him. People who once loved him turned against him. Family members didn't understand. Other priests accused him of being fake, but he never wavered, because he knew that the only opinion that mattered was God's. Sometimes loving someone means reducing contact. Sometimes it means maintaining distance. Sometimes it means praying for them from far away instead of letting them destroy your peace up close. And that's okay. That's not abandonment. That's wisdom. That's protection. That's healthy boundaries. Protecting your soul is not a lack of love. It's the highest form of love, because you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't help anyone if you're spiritually depleted, and you can't be a light for others if you let someone else snuff out your flame. If these revelations have touched your heart, don't let this grace end here. There's something I want to share with you that can help you go deeper. It's the ebook, The Spiritual Secrets of Saint Father Pio. This resource was created for those who want to strengthen their faith and walk closer to God, inspired by the teachings of one of the most beloved and mystical saints of our time. Inside, you'll find powerful prayers, deep reflections, and practical guidance for living Father Pio's spirituality in your daily life. You'll also discover real stories of miracles and conversions that strengthen faith, restore hope, and bring peace to the heart. Father Pio taught that faith lived with sincerity can transform everything. This ebook is an invitation for you to take a concrete step in your spiritual life. The link to access it is pinned in the comments. And now we reach the fourth type, the most devastating of them all, the one that destroys more souls than any other. This is the relative who lives in open sin and tries to drag you down with them. This isn't someone who struggles with sin privately. We all do that. We all fall. We all have our battles. This is someone who lives consciously, deliberately, openly against God's commandments and not only refuses to repent, but actively tries to normalize it and pull you into it with them. This is the uncle who lives a life of dishonesty and encourages you to cut corners too. This is the cousin, deep in addiction, who makes you feel like you're being judgmental if you don't join in. This is the sibling, living in a situation that goes against everything the church teaches and who makes you feel like you're not supportive if you don't celebrate it. They don't just sin. They invite you to sin with them. They normalize it. They justify it. They make you feel like you're the problem for believing that God's commandments actually matter. And here's the trap. They use love as the weapon. They say things like, if you really loved me, you'd accept this. If you really cared, you wouldn't judge me. If you were really a good brother, sister, son, daughter, you'd support me no matter what. But that's not love. That's manipulation dressed up as love. Real love tells the truth even when it hurts. Real love doesn't celebrate someone's destruction. Real love doesn't enable someone to walk further away from God. Real love says, I love you too much to watch you destroy yourself. And I love God too much to participate in something that offends him. Father Pio encountered this constantly. People would come to him asking, Father, my family member is living in grave sin. What do? I don't want to abandon them, but I feel like being around them is destroying my own faith. And you know what Father Pio would say? He would say that there's a difference between abandoning someone and protecting yourself from being dragged into the pit with them. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. You can't rescue someone who's holding onto their sin with both hands. And if you try, if you keep diving into that water trying to pull them out while they fight you every step of the way, you know what happens. You both drown. I knew someone once, let's call her Maria. She had a brother who was living a lifestyle completely contrary to the faith they were raised in. And Maria loved her brother deeply. She wanted to support him, to show him that she wasn't judging him, that she still cared. So she went to every party he threw. She hung out with his friends. She laughed at jokes she knew were wrong. She nodded along to conversations that made her stomach turn. She told herself she was being a good sister. She told herself this was what love looked like. But slowly, almost without noticing, her own faith started crumbling. The things that used to bother her didn't bother her anymore. The standards she used to hold started feeling outdated, too rigid, too judgmental. She stopped going to confession because she knew the priest would ask questions she didn't want to answer. And one day, sitting in a church parking lot unable to make herself go inside, she realized what had happened. In trying to save her brother, she'd lost herself. In trying to show him unconditional love, she'd compromised her own soul. And the worst part? Her brother hadn't changed at all. He was still living the same way. Her sacrifice had meant nothing except the destruction of her own spiritual life. That's when she finally understood what Father Pio meant. You can love someone from a distance. You can pray for someone without being present in their chaos. You can hope for someone's conversion without enabling their destruction. She had to make one of the hardest decisions of her life. She told her brother she loved him, that she would always pray for him, but that she couldn't be part of that world anymore. She couldn't attend those gatherings. She couldn't pretend to celebrate things she knew were wrong. And yes, it hurt terribly. He accused her of being judgmental, of abandoning him, of thinking she was better than him. But here's what happened. With distance, her faith came back. With boundaries, her peace returned. And with time, with consistent prayer from afar, her brother actually started asking questions. Not because she was there enabling him, but because her absence made him wonder what she had that he didn't, what gave her the strength to walk away. What faith could be so real that it was worth losing a relationship over? That's the power of protecting your soul. When you refuse to be dragged down, when you choose God over human approval, when you love someone enough to let them face the consequences of their choices instead of cushioning them from reality, sometimes that's what finally wakes them up. But even if it doesn't, even if they never change, you still made the right choice. Because you can't control their salvation, but you are responsible for yours. You can't force someone to turn to God, but you can refuse to turn away from Him yourself. Father Pio was incredibly clear about this. He said that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is separate yourself from someone who's actively pulling you toward hell. That sounds harsh, but it's true. If someone's lifestyle, someone's choices, someone's constant influence is leading you away from God, you have not just the right, but the obligation to protect your soul. This doesn't mean you stop loving them. It doesn't mean you give up on them. It means you love them from a safe distance. You pray for them without being present in their destruction. You hope for their conversion without participating in their sin. And let me tell you something. The devil hates when you do this. He hates when you set boundaries. He hates when you choose God over comfort. He'll use every weapon he has to make you feel guilty for protecting your soul. He'll whisper that you're being judgmental, that you're not being loving, that a real Christian would stay no matter what. But that's a lie. A real Christian follows Christ, and Christ never enabled sin. He loved sinners, yes. He ate with them, yes. But he never participated in their sin. He never celebrated their choices. He never made them feel comfortable in their rebellion against God. He loved them enough to tell them the truth, even when it cost him relationships, even when it made him unpopular, even when it got him killed. That's the model. That's what real love looks like. And if following that model means some family relationships become distant, if it means some people accuse you of being cold or judgmental or holier than thou, you're in good company, because every saint faced the same accusations. Every person who ever chose God over human approval paid a price for it. But here's what they gained: peace, freedom, joy, a soul that's intact, a relationship with God that's real, and the chance, however small, that their example might eventually help the very people they had to distance themselves from. So what do you do starting today? What do you do with these 4 types of relatives that Father Pio warned about? The mocker, the one who gets you to relax, the guilt manipulator, and the one living in open sin. First, you take them before the crucifix. You kneel down and you pray with complete honesty. Jesus, I don't want to hate anyone. I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to be resentful. But I also don't want to be dragged away from you anymore. Show me the right boundaries. Give me the courage to set them. Give me the strength to maintain them. Because here's what Father Pio understood. Discernment is a gift from God. You can't figure this out on your own. You can't navigate these relationships in your own strength. You need wisdom from above. You need the Holy Spirit to show you when to engage and when to withdraw, when to speak and when to stay silent, when to be present and when to love from a distance. Second, you pray for them. You pray for them every single day, not with judgment, not with superiority, but with genuine love. You pray that God opens their eyes. You pray that He softens their hearts. You pray that they encounter His grace in a way that transforms them. Because the goal isn't to cut people off forever. The goal is to protect your soul while hoping and praying for their conversion. Third, you refuse to hand over the direction of your soul. You can honor someone without obeying them. You can love someone without letting them control you. You can be part of a family without letting that family determine your relationship with God. Father Pio had to do this. When church authorities questioned him, when fellow priests doubted him, when people accused him of being a fraud, he didn't fight back with anger. He didn't defend himself with arguments. He simply continued doing what God had called him to do. He protected his spiritual life. He maintained his disciplines. He refused to compromise even when it cost him dearly. And eventually the truth came out. Eventually people saw that he was genuine. Eventually even his critics had to admit that God was working through him. But none of that would have happened if he'd compromised to make people comfortable. None of that would have happened if he'd given in to the pressure to be less extreme, less devoted, less on fire for God. The faith you protect today becomes the peace you experience tomorrow. The boundaries you set now become the freedom you live in later. The distance you create from toxic influences becomes the space where God can actually work in your life. And here's something beautiful. When you protect your soul, when you prioritize your relationship with God above all human relationships, you actually become more capable of truly loving others. Not with enabling love, not with codependent love, not with manipulative love, but with real love. The kind of love that wants what's best for someone's soul, not what makes them most comfortable. The kind of love that tells the truth, even when it hurts. The kind of love that Christ showed us. So don't be afraid to set boundaries. Don't feel guilty for protecting your spiritual life. Don't let anyone convince you that loving God more than them makes you a bad person. It doesn't. It makes you a wise person. It makes you someone who understands what actually matters. Remember what Father Pio said. Protecting your soul is not a lack of love. It's the foundation of real love. Because you can't give what you don't have. You can't share peace you don't possess. You can't lead others to God if you've let them pull you away from Him. Not every relative who smiles at you wants your salvation. Some laugh at your faith, trying to shame you into hiding it. Others convince you to lower your standards, to relax with God, to stop being so serious about holiness. Some manipulate you with guilt, using your love for them as a weapon against your love for God. And the most dangerous ones live openly in sin and try to drag you into the darkness with them. But you don't have to let any of them succeed. You have the grace of God. You have the example of the saints. You have the wisdom of Father Pio. And you have the strength of the Holy Spirit working within you. The faith that you protect today will become the foundation of everything good in your life tomorrow. The boundaries you set now will bring you peace you can't even imagine yet. The distance you create from toxic influences will make room for God to do things in your life that will absolutely amaze you. If this message touched your heart, write in the comments, "Lord, protect my faith." When you write that, you're not just leaving a comment, you're making a declaration. You're saying that your relationship with God matters more than anyone's approval. You're saying that you're willing to do what it takes to protect your soul, and that declaration has power. You know, we're building something special here. This isn't just a channel. This is a community of people who are serious about their faith, who want to grow closer to God, who refuse to settle for lukewarm Christianity. And we need your help to spread this message. If this video helped you, if it opened your eyes to something you needed to see, if it gave you the courage to make a hard decision, would you do something for us? Hit that like button. It seems like a small thing, but it helps this message reach more people who desperately need to hear it. Share this video with someone you know who's struggling with difficult family relationships. Send it to that friend who's been wavering in their faith. Post it in your group chat. Because there are people in your life right now who need these words from Father Pio. And if you want to be part of this mission, if you want to help us continue creating content that strengthens faith and spreads the wisdom of the saints, consider becoming a member of this channel. Your support makes it possible for us to keep doing this work, to keep sharing these messages, to keep building this community of believers who are committed to growing in holiness together. We're not just making videos here. We're building an army of souls who refuse to compromise, who choose God over comfort, who love their families enough to set boundaries when necessary. And we want you to be part of that. May Father Pio intercede for you in this moment. May Our Lady cover you with her mantle of protection. May the Holy Spirit give you the courage to do what's hard but right. May you have the wisdom to discern who speaks life into your faith and who drains it away. May you have the strength to set boundaries that honor God. And may you have the peace that comes from knowing your soul is protected, your faith is strong, and your relationship with God is the priority it should be. Go in peace, beloved, and remember, protecting your soul is not a lack of love. It's the truest love there is.